Good evening, afternoon if you're in countries that it's not night at. Welcome to Film Geek Primer Live. I'm one of your many hosts, Santo, John. With me, as always, is I'm going to start actually with Tremendo, since it appears that Dub is chewing. So with us, who, if you were seeing us last week, this week you get the actual image of him, El Tremendo, who's been out fighting crime.
Hi, how are you?
How's it going, sir?
Wait, remove thumb from camera. How's it going?
Not too bad, man. How you holding up?
Good, good.
Good.
Watching stuff.
Fair enough. And also with us is I like kind of the sad puppy dog ears on your.
Good Batman.
It's like a defeated Batman.
My parents are dead.
That's the Batman. That's the Batman who writes music from the Lego Movie. If you saw that,
Yeah.
which was one of many excellent Batman-based jokes in that movie. I
Parents are
thought.
dead.
So okay, also with us, as you've already heard the voice of, is Dub. Hello, Dub.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thank you. And then not with us is Shu, who I should have I should have a picture of to throw up whenever he's not around, just to piss him off.
Do we have any pictures of Shu on the phone?
Yeah, I don't know.
We have that generic one from years ago.
I've got like hundreds of them.
So Shu is off fighting for the rights of the band Boston.
You know, I've been thinking about fill in our audience on where he is.
Okay, so Shu has one of Shu's many talents is the ability to check boxes, and he is at some sort of radio station survey to figure out what their programming should be. So he plus lots of other folks get paid a couple bucks to sit for 2 hours, listen to a bunch of songs / check off boxes to a bunch of songs, saying what they should write. So
He explained it to me. He said basically he's given a clip of a song and he has to guess who's playing the song. So the last time he did this, there was 400 clips that he had to guess. Guess how many he guessed. And we're talking classical rock here.
Sure, I would say 385.
He got a solid 400 out of 400.
Wow, that's possibly the
Yeah.
best he's ever done at anything.
Yeah,
in
too
school,
much.
you know.
Good.
You know, where he lives, classic rock rules.
Yes.
Classic rock rules in general.
And where Shu lives is in his mind. So that's all that's there. Well,
I've got to say, it was presented to me as if he was on a quest to eliminate AC/DC in favor of Boston. And
that's how he presented it to me. That he's I
believe that he's on that crusade.
Oh yeah. That's
but
because Marillion never pops up on the list.
Yeah, I will fight for the other side.
Yeah, you don't feel that AC/DC's been overplayed?
No, I don't think rock and roll is noise pollution, and I can't think of any Boston jokes to make right now. So that in and of itself tells me that my loyalties lie with the Thunder from Down Under.
That's fair. I'll give you that one. That's very fair. So Shu will theoretically be joining us next week, where he will have lots of anger and bile to spew out at us over awards or something. I'm actually hoping...
But he'll do it in some sort of progressive 5/8 measure meter.
Oh,
And the
totally.
pentameter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the man is an artist, we have to admit. Actually, the thing I'm hoping we can get him on is Seagal versus Van Damme, because we had ourselves an interesting little chat the other day about that, and he's got, of course, some fascinating things about that. He watched the most recent Steven Seagal movie, which apparently is streaming on Netflix, and he says that Seagal has gotten so large that he can barely get words out of his mouth now. So, which makes it tough on his stunt double to actually now have to act for him as well. Anyways, so we theoretically have topics.
Oh, wait. When does that flip? When he becomes the stunt double?
When Shu becomes the stunt double?
No, when he can't speak or move, and the stunt double has to fill in for him. When does it become the stunt doubles movie, and Steven Seagal is the replacement?
Oh, no. It's always Steven Seagal's movie. You don't fuck with Seagal.
No, he's so fat he needs a quadruple.
I think you're muffled in that mask.
Huh?
The joke fell flat because they're muffled somehow.
Yeah,
but I did like the joke.
Bad Batman ears.
For the record, I did like the joke.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I never liked Steven Seagal.
Happy Batman ears.
I've seen probably only about a half dozen Steven Seagal movies, so I'm no expert. But he was never a Jean-Claude Van Damme as far as I was concerned.
See, I would fall under the Van Damme camp myself, but I will admit, Out for Justice is the one of his that I actually kind of dig. His first, well, I guess there's always Above the Law and
Hard to Kill was my favorite.
Was Hard to Kill was that the Jamaican one?
No, Hard to Kill was the one where
he was hard to kill.
They're having trouble killing him. No, he goes into a coma for a while.
Oh, that's
It's got the ridiculous device. It's got the ridiculous device of the main bad guy constantly saying, "And you can take that to the bank." And he says it like 8 different times, and that's how Steven Seagal recognizes him. It's so dumb.
Oh,
but again, I don't mind dumb. I've got great love in my heart for dumb.
Yeah. Oh no.
But this particular one was problematic.
You can't truly love movies unless you love dumb, because the dumb to intelligent ratio of cinema is
a gap there.
Pretty high. Yeah.
Do you think we should evaluate them on levels like whose fighting style was more exciting to watch, who had the highest percentage of memorable lines, how many cardboard houses they blow up? Instead of just overall quality,
that's actually not a bad idea. We could actually create a chart of specific action tropes, and we can gauge their movies based on those tropes. Right, that's a good one.
We have to decide what the metrics are by which we gauge this evaluation. We have to decide, who is, I don't know, taller. Is that one of them?
Well, I think Seagal wins that one.
All right, so that one's easy.
Accent's tough. Accent, I hate to say, is tough, because even with Seagal, he's not exactly the easiest to understand at times.
Well, Jean-Claude Van Damme is from Brussels, right? He's the muscles from Brussels.
According to his birth certificate.
So he's got a Brussish accent. I'm not sure what language they speak. Do they speak Brazilian?
Brazilian, thanks. Yeah, you actually took my joke. That's exactly what I was going to go with.
Sorry. And Steven Seagal must come from ignorance. I'm thinking most of the time when he talks, you hear that ignorant accent.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, ouch. I went there.
Yeah, most musically inclined though is Seagal.
Yes.
And and of course, law enforcement, actual law enforcement goes to Seagal. There are a lot. Anyway, we can discuss that with Shu next week. But I think
I've got someone trying to watch us right now. He's wanting to know if it's public. He can't find it anywhere, either on our page or on the YouTube channel.
As far as I know, we're public. So.
Who is it?
My brother. He watched last week's episode, and he said he was frustrated because he kept wanting to chime in.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no. We should be public. I mean, I didn't do anything to make us not public.
Well, if he's friends with you on Google Plus, maybe see if he's around.
Yeah.
So before the show, I'll actually talk about a little something while you're trying to figure that out. Before the show, John was catching us up on a little gem called Invasion USA, and in it there was a plot device that involved possibly, but eventually not, killing a pet armadillo. Now, I think we can all agree that there's this killing a pet line that when a movie crosses, it's just not cool anymore.
Right. Well, did you see the movie Seven Psychopaths by Martin McDonagh, the same gentleman who made In Bruges?
I read a great deal about it, but I did not, unfortunately, which is a shame. I really respected In Bruges.
Yeah, Seven Psychopaths, I think, is just as good, but has much more of a commentary on cinema itself. And one of the rules they actually dish out is you can kill as many women as you want, but if you kill the dog, your audience is gonna fucking hate you. And so one of the actual plot devices, and at which point, of course, you see countless women killed throughout the entire film, and there's one dog that's been kidnapped. They're trying to get back alive, and every time the dog is threatened, you're always kind of like, is he gonna fucking do it? Is he gonna kill the dog? And I won't give that away.
No, I look forward to seeing it. So that being said, about the sensitivity, let's say, that most audiences have towards pets, I realize that I'm holding a long-term grudge. And I'm going to look up when this movie was made now to see exactly how long a term I've been holding this grudge on a movie that not only killed the pet, but actually tortured it for almost 10 years.
I'm sorry, is this a true life case, or this is a movie that you've seen?
This is a movie that I've seen.
This is not like Flipper or Day of the Dolphin or something like that?
No. Let's see, 1989.
Harry and the Andersons?
So I've been holding a grudge.
Did you say Harry and the Andersons?
No,
I did.
They let him live. I've been holding a grudge, 1989, 2009. You know, we're pushing 15 years at this point. Did you guys ever see The Fly 2?
Yes.
No.
I
never did.
Really? See, I would have I would have thought that would have been right up your alley for some reason. Because
I just never did.
You're a huge Daphne Zuniga fan.
That's a sure thing. Yep.
But it's got also, and it has not Gina Davis in it, giving birth to the baby
Gina
Fly.
Davis?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, her non-union Mexican equivalent.
Right. But do you remember the dog? Do you remember what they do to the dog in that movie?
Don't they put the dog through the portal and he comes out all tweaked out?
They do. He comes out all twisted, just like Brundlefly at the end when he goes through the portal with the door open. And the little boy sees this. He loved the dog, but he was kept in there. And then he sees them destroy his dog like that, and then they take the dog away. And then later, when it's like jump ahead 10 years and it's Eric Stoltz actually playing the grown-up kid who tries to escape, he finds the dog again, still alive. So that means that horribly twisted and in pain dog had been alive in this place for like 10 years in the story. I will never forgive that movie for that.
No one will ever take it out for a walk.
That was so brutal and so devastating.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't remember. Luckily, I remember. The only thing I remember about that movie is that it was sucked. That it was directed by Chris Wallace, I think his name was. He did the special effects for the first one, and it was like his big chance. And I saw it in the theater because I had become a huge addict of Cronenberg's version of The Fly, and so when that one was coming out, I wouldn't say excited, but I'm like, oh, good, more.
Right.
And I was at that young, dumb age of 16 or 17 when it came out, which means I'm mentally challenged. And I really thought that it had potential to possibly be something good, and it was just.
It did not.
Fucking horrendous. And it's oh god, the whole thing's about them curing the disease.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like it's the reverse where it's like they fix him. Oh god. Fuck that movie. Okay.
Yeah, it's so terrible.
Fuck that movie.
And I feel like they made choices that they thought would be like Cronenberg extreme.
Right.
But they didn't have his things to say.
Right.
Like Cronenberg is not a vapid director. He's not. He's not in it just for the shock value.
No. He very much has
fact,
something to say about we as humans and the human body and everything else. Yeah.
Right, but what's so disturbing about Cronenberg is that I get the feeling when he's done with the movie and he makes people watch it and they like throw up in their seats, he doesn't get what's so disturbing.
I would agree with you on that one.
Like I could see him in a screener and having people like faint around him and just be totally baffled. Like what? They're having amputee sex by a car crew. What is your problem?
This is totally normal, don't you get? This is life, man.
Right.
This is what it's all about. Don't worry about it.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So okay, so let's throw in some topics here. T, you sent out an interesting topic to discuss. So why don't you go ahead and introduce it to us?
Well, I want to talk about film festivals now that Sexy Dub, whatever it's called, SW.
Oh, South by Southwest.
South by Southwest.
Yeah.
You just call me Sexy Dub?
I'll Sexy Dub. Now that it's it came to a close this weekend, I was wondering, what are your favorite film festivals that A, you've attended, and B, attend.
Okay, which ones we have attended and which ones we would like to attend. So,
I mean, I could start off with days I'd like to go to Fantastic Fest.
Right. Now, oops, you're kind of freezing up there on us. Sorry, what's up?
All right, Santa, you talk while he works out his connection problem.
Okay. First, let's distinguish kind of a couple different things between festivals, because there are definitely two different types, and there's a third type, sort of. The first one, of course, is and I don't want to call it a legitimate festival, but more the classic festival that has the Cannes Film Festival, Sundance, New York, where they actually have a jury that votes on films that are within, the competition bracket of the festival, and so they are. So they'll have best director, picture, actor, stuff like that. So there are specific films that are picked out for competition, and then there's a bunch of other stuff. Like at the Cannes Festival, they have the Director's Fortnight and other movies that are not part of the competition, but are part of but are screened, are allowed to get word of mouth out, are there to be to have their film shown. A lot of these films don't have distribution. Maybe they are. There are the other festivals like Fantastic Fest, which Tremendo had mentioned, which is really just about showing movies. There's no competition involved. And Fantastic Fest, they do show some new movies or films that haven't come out yet, and Fantastic Fest is much more a genre-oriented film festival. You're not going to find 12 Years a Slave there, but you will find
12 Years a Space Slave?
Exactly, yeah, you probably would find that, or Manborg and other, very, crazy...
Kick Puncher?
Yeah, exactly. Kick Puncher they would have in spades. They would have the entire trilogy. And then there are the other ones, which are... how do I say this? Fake. And they're not really fake because everybody, when Sundance kind of started becoming popular, independent film started becoming really popular in the early 90s, lots of festivals started cropping up in different communities. Everybody kind of wanted to start showing off their local talent or bring in talent and kind of show, kind of build out the art community, I guess, in an odd way. So I know Tucson developed a film festival. There's one in Phoenix, there's the Scottsdale Film Festival. I'm bringing up Arizona ones because those are the ones that I knew of, because that's where Tremendo and I are from. But they're all over. The Sioux City, Iowa Film Festival, and a lot of them are. There's always kind of this thing of, is it really about bringing in extra revenue? Because, of course, although these festivals to enter films cost like $50, $100, you may or may not get in. Odds are, if you pay the $100, you will get in because they need to fill out their stuff. There's also like horror festivals. There are, the YouTube, it's the Cat Video Film Festival, which I think they've now done 2 years. Which all it does, it's not a competition. It's just for cat lovers to get together and watch all these crazy fucking cat videos that you see on YouTube for free and watch those. So there's kind of a spectrum of film festivals out there. That being said, festivals I have been to were the Sundance. I've been to Sundance twice, once to actually watch movies and once to work. And then it was the Dub, help me here. It was the New York Independent International Film Festival.
Yeah, it had some crazy international and interactive film festival or something like that.
Something like that, right. Which you and I were a part of, and we had one of our films shown there, and we won because we paid the money.
I think we got like a special mention. I think one is like a strong term.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, we got a thing. We got a certificate and shit.
Yeah, but they only had one, so you got a certificate.
Okay, fair enough. And I have no idea where that is anymore. That got
you know.
Honestly, I don't. I wish I did.
You're just playing cool for the cameras.
It got tossed in something somewhere. Anyways, so ones I would like to go to. I'll tell you what. T, start us off. Which ones? So you mentioned going to Fantastic Fest. Where are some of the other ones you'd like to hit?
Well, I like to hit Sundance at some point. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I coming in?
Yep.
Okay. Just for the pure experience, I know it's it's really generalized and hip to go, and it's not really it's lost that independent spirit that it used to. It's more of a showcase and a hangout and a scene now. But I'd like to hang out and check it out at some point. Fantastic Fest, only because they're able to find perfect prints of stuff like Manborg and shit like that I like. And the other one is the one they do for Harry Knowles' birthday, the Buttonomathon, which is a 24-hour fest. And I don't know if that's invitation only or if it's something that you can attend.
That's something
like
you
can
show
up for it.
Yeah, you can't attend it. You have to apply for it. Well, he puts up on the Ain't It Cool news site that enter now, and then they do I think they do like a random hat drawing or something like that. And from that you can actually go, and is it 24 hours? Or is it dusk till dawn? I always forget what the angle is.
I thought it was 24 hours. I thought
Maybe
it was 24 hours, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
I've never done a 24-hour thing. I've done 12-hour things, maybe 15 I've gone through, like the Lord of the Rings thing. I made it through 15 hours of that, or some ridiculous number. So yeah, those are the three off the top of my head. Maybe Fantasia. I think that's in Seattle.
What's the basis of the Fantasia Film Festival?
It's Asian genre films. So in the 90s, it was the showcase of the Japanese horror flicks and the Korean horror flicks. They also bring back a lot of old karate flicks and old fantasy films from the 60s and 70s, Hong Kong stuff. So I don't even know if they have it anymore, to tell you the truth. But at some point, I thought that was one of the ones I really wanted to go to.
For me, in terms of just the sheer experience, it's like you said, Sundance. It's Cannes Film Festival, of course, because at least at Cannes anyway, while they do have their come launch Shrek the Third to garner some attention, it's still a lot of really classy people on the judging panel for the most part.
Right. Well, the cool thing about the Cannes Film Festival is it's also two things now. It's also the film market,
right?
Which where they which is where Troma and all these people go. And it's it's not officially part of the Cannes Film Festival, but it's kind of a separate yet still part of it where.
That was going to be part of a separate question I was going to pose to you guys when I was done. But I've been hearing about the Documentary Film Festival in Palm Springs, and I bet that would be a really good one to go to, just in terms of the quality of films that you would see. And then my question about the film markets that you were talking about is, aside from in some of the local markets and in some of the genre festivals, aside from bubbling up talent like that, what value do these film festivals have in terms of, a guy like me sitting at home waiting for some small movie to make it to Netflix or some other portal for me to view? Like when we were in our film festival, one of the only locations to shop your documentary was HBO.
Right.
And if you didn't make it into HBO's documentary series, no one was going to see your documentary. I mean, do you remember that euthanasia documentary we saw?
Yeah, that's so funny. That I think of that one. Was it the All American, or it had a?
Oh my God, I cannot unthink of that one. That was such an intense and real film-going experience.
Literally a real film going, and actually incredibly well made. I mean, it wasn't it had this really it had this really fascinating structure to it, and it was a personal story about it was made by a young man and his sister, and it was about their father who had been diagnosed with terminal cancer or something like that, and wanted to
assist him, wanted to help him.
Yeah, they wanted to help him, and so it was this entire fascinating. It was in an awkward way. It was almost a procedural.
Absolutely. You were following what they could and couldn't do, and what their doctors could and couldn't do. Yep. And it was so hard. And then what happened? Just to finish that one off, it was so grim because at the end, the trick is they could not help him at all, or they would have been charged with murder. Yep. So he had to do it himself, and calling it a snuff film is just not fair. But you sit with the family while he makes his final choices, and you see him struggle with some of the physical realities of doing what it is he wanted to do, and they can't help him. I remember him reaching out to help his father, and he couldn't. He had to sort of back away. Oh, it was so brutal.
Yeah, and it was like, and as proof, they filmed the entire thing, and they show the structure of it was really solid, because at the beginning you think, oh God, they're going to show this thing, because it's like the aftermath, or it's just before they're like sitting down to do it, and then they go back in time basically to say, here's how this started and here's how it got there, and then they actually show a portion of the event itself. And I can't remember off the top of my head, for better or worse, whether you actually see him step into the rainbow. But it
or
was.
If he just tastes the rainbow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Step into a Slim Jim.
But he snapped into that great Slim Jim in the sky, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I'm distracting, so because I think you guys would be able to talk about this better than me. So what is the market like in these festivals, especially some of the smaller genre ones? Like, it sounds like the 90s bubbled up a lot of Japanese horror. That became the thing for a while, but
T, you got any comment on this one?
I think indie horror has gotten a lot of traction from exposure at indie festivals. Stuff like
And we
he's thinking really hard about this one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think indie horror has benefited the most recently. As far as I'm still waiting for some movies to still come out that I've heard of, that were talked about 3 years ago in the movie blog arena, and these movies just haven't come about for whatever reason. And so I think genre, especially the genre geared festivals, are more are helping these films out better than the regular ones.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think the horror film festivals definitely is a big boost to help a lot of smaller horror films get released. Though at the same time, it's like, I mean, the most recent kind of big thing I can think of was Slumdog Millionaire had no distributor when it showed at the Toronto Film Festival. And it was one of those films where I don't know why no one wanted to release it. You had a solid pedigree of Danny Boyle behind it. Right. Admittedly, you've got a bunch of brown people, and it's a musical in a weird way, and it's got
weird structure.
Yeah, so no, that's but it's got Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's got a very kind of classic. It's got a very classic romance storyline to it. So there's not a lot there that you couldn't see that wasn't sellable. But for some reason, a distributor hadn't picked it up. Anyways, when it had screened for the first time at Toronto, it blew up. I mean, everybody went gaga ape shit, and it was, I think, Fox Searchlight picked it up. And as we know, the history of that movie from that point onward, it went on to win Best Picture and Best Director. So I still think there are a lot of movies. Festivals do help a lot of films. Some get distribution. Others, like the Princess Di movie, I think, was it Naomi Watts?
Yeah.
Got so massacred at Toronto or Telluride that they basically released it overseas very briefly, and I think they may have put it out for like a week and very limited release here. I can't remember if that was a Weinstein's release or not.
That's a good example of how exposure at these more elite film festivals killed a flick.
Yeah, oh, completely, yeah. And I think Argo, got a huge boost from Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto sounds like it's one of the most legit. I mean, it's like Sundance and Toronto in terms of films that you're going to see most likely in the theaters. Whereas yeah, I feel like I hear about winners from Cannes and they just don't show up.
Well, but Toronto also is not like an international. I mean, Cannes is to me is the festival because it is a world-based festival. So you will have Chinese films against French films against American films. I mean, it's an all-encompassing thing. It's not like Sundance where we have a special award for the best non-speak of the English movie. So it's so there's a regard systematically with the Cannes Film Festival that I really respect and appreciate, and the jury is always a highly impressive list of jurors who are talent from they have cinematographers, directors, actors, actresses,
Right.
writers, and it's not just writers. They'll have poets. They'll have this really kind of distinguished group of people as the jury. And so even though a lot of those films, like Blue is the Warmest Color, which won this year, and that I think it winning the festival not only helped it get more widely seen in the U.S., because I don't think it's a movie that anybody would ever watch in the U.S., but it got itself a theatrical release. Even though it had the NC-17, it still played in some bigger theaters. It did not fare well at the box office because, again, they speak of the English.
Right.
But it's
Well, a couple of strikes against it. That's strike 1 and 2, and then to be an NC-17, you're going to scare a lot of people away.
Oh yeah, I saw it in the theater, and literally when the sex scene, and it became infamous for two things. One, a 7-minute sex scene, and
7 minutes. That guy's an animal.
Two women, and the director and star had very public arguments. But when I went to see it, as soon as the sex scene ended, like 2 guys stood up and left. That's why they were there, which is a shame because it's an amazing.
They were finished.
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, they were done, which is a bummer. Because
as they left, you should have been like, hey, psst, psst, check out this thing called the internet.
Yeah, seriously. I mean,
think you'll like it.
Well, apparently they only like they prefer their sex subtitled. And so but it's an incredible movie. I mean, it's a really fantastic portrait of a young girl growing up, and you were in detail, not just within the sex scene, but in detail watching
a young woman's erotic journey through
from Milan to Minsk.
Yeah. No, it's just watching a woman grow up.
Rochelle.
Watching a woman grow up, watching her come into her own, and it's incredibly detailed and deals with the banal moments as much as the exciting moments. But yeah, so the Cannes Film Festival. So Toronto, though, to me is much more of a because they don't do prizes at Toronto, do they? I can't remember. Toronto's more like a film market.
None of the other film festivals advertise their jury the way Cannes does. Cannes or Con, whatever. What
do you expect though? You've got the entire world to advertise to. How can you lose at that deal? I mean, it's you've got it's the Olympics. It's the yearly Olympics to some extent for cinema.
Right.
Because
it's because of that, and it touches on some of the things we were talking about last week with the validity or invalidity of award ceremonies, which is I find the Oscars interesting because it's an insiders voting on it's an industry award.
Right.
It's an insider industry award. So I'm curious what a majority of cinematographers think the best cinematography is. I'm curious what a majority of actors think the best actor is. I'm kind of curious on that stuff. And with Cannes, it's the same way. Only instead of insiders, it's sort of a distinguished panel of artists. Let's say.
Yeah, Cannes is definitely more about the art versus the commerce. I feel like Toronto is a lot more about the commerce. It's like if people don't like your movie, that movie ain't seeing shit for screens. Whereas if all of a sudden, if you don't have a distributor, you can suddenly become the star of Toronto, and you're out on 3,000 screens, and they will push to make sure that you win some kind of Oscar.
So as the least obsessive film fan in this hangout right now. Festivals like Toronto and Sundance probably matter more to me because that's where the big distributors are going to do their heavy shopping.
Sure, but also I feel like Sundance, and T was mentioning that he feels that Sundance has become a real big deal, and it's a huge party, and there's there's a lot of bullshit advertising, and
sure.
Paris Hilton will show up to get swag and all kinds of other crap like that. But Sundance is still to me, one of the more preeminent independent film festivals, and they've become more independent over time to some extent. A couple of years ago, it was taken over by somebody. A new programmer was brought in, and it was more to get back to the independent level of stuff. And I think since then, I want to say Tiny Furniture was part of those. So Lena Dunham came out of that. But
that's 3-4 years ago now, right?
Yeah, it's been a few years. I believe. To pin down the exact time, I can't remember. As a matter of fact, it was a gentleman that a friend of T and I's worked with, Mike Plant, his guy from Cine Vegas, I believe, is the guy that took it over. But anyways, yeah. But Sundance always has, they're still good at keeping track of independence of independent film and are willing to show like Boyhood, the new Richard Linklater movie, which I'm really excited about seeing because it's a fascinating experiment that he did. That debuted at Sundance. I believe, of course, a couple years ago, Kevin Smith was back where the whole Red State hoopla thing took place.
Right.
Yeah, that was a shame.
I don't disagree with what he did. I think I disagree with kind of the way he handled it.
There is so
definitely a troll.
much. Yeah, there is so much about Kevin Smith that I think the film industry as a whole needs. I feel like he needs to be a part of the film industry. I feel like there's got to be a way he can do that without making the movies he's been making the last couple of years. Like, well, I really appreciate his voice. I really appreciate his perspective. He seems to have a lot of insight. But when it comes to actually making the film, I don't know if he has as much to say as an artist anymore.
Well, did you see?
Films had a lot to say. His early films were just dense with.
Did you see Red State?
I saw no.
Okay, yeah, Red State's a very interesting film. So, and I think there's still something there. And again, he's much more interested in being the raconteur now and running his
great raconteur
Podcast Nation and everything else like that. But anyways, so Kevin Smith aside, maybe we're not seeing from Sundance what we used to see because again, I think there was the '90s were really the indie heyday. I mean, that was the Weinsteins for the most part. Broke out independent film and showed that there could be a mass audience for independent movies, and from that, Sony and all these other places created, Fox Searchlight was created because of that independent phase. Right. So there was a lot. So they did a lot of good, but it was because of that rise that everything you create the Tower of Babel, fucker's gonna fall over. And that's exactly kind of to some extent what happened, and Sundance has never been able to recover from it completely. But I do believe they still have a lot of smaller movies that we may not, that doesn't get a lot of press, that doesn't get picked up that quickly, still has some stuff to show. In
those markets, do you have shoppers for Netflix and shoppers for Amazon and shoppers for Hulu? Are these people players in that?
As far as the new paradigm goes, I have no idea. I'm not sure how they handle with any of that stuff. I think
they must, because one of the things, what the Weinsteins showed with their shrewd eye was that if you chose well, you got a huge bang for your buck, because these people, for the most part, they've already paid for these movies. Right, you're just dangling a few dollars in front of them, and then if you've got the distribution channels, you can turn that around and like I'm trying to think of some of their early examples.
You know what? Netflix did buy. Oh God, what was it called? It was the documentary about the Egyptian uprising.
The Square.
Thank you. Yes, the Square. Yeah, so they did pick up the Square and they distributed it strictly through Netflix.
And to their credit, they pimped it hard. I saw bus ads for that thing.
And that's the one time I was going to say, because my example was going to be is I never see them, if they do pick up stuff, they don't fucking advertise it, which is a shame. But with the Square, you're right. They actually, especially in Los Angeles, I don't know about the rest of the country, but in LA, they really did push the fact that they exclusively had the Square on Netflix.
The Mitt Romney documentary as well.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So obviously they are there.
So yeah, so they've got something now. Well, they may have also had those deals in place beforehand, because the Romney film debuted and then was on Netflix like 2 days later. So that may have been something. I don't know if maybe they helped produce it, or if they had seen the movie beforehand and purchased it or if it was already set up there and then Sundance just happened to show it. So I don't know how digital outlets act, and it's a shame because they really should get in that game, because they could create a fantastic outlet, because there's plenty of people out there who do like independent film. If not, these festivals wouldn't exist. There would be no reason these festivals would not be making money for all of these smaller films, or would not be getting audiences in to see these smaller films if there was not an audience for them. So whatever Netflix and Amazon and Vudu and whoever else out there are doing, that has not been their main focus. It's definitely been original content.
So what about some
stuck in that Hulu video list?
Yeah, exactly.
What about some local LA-based film festivals?
Like
I want to go to.
Other than, does the Film Noir Fest count?
Yeah, why not?
Because
Well,
that's
You know what LA has? LA has a ton of ethnic film festivals. They've got Jewish
yeah.
film festival, an Armenian film festival. They've got an Iranian film festival. They've got
I
a
went to the
Polish film
Iranian one a couple
festival.
of years ago.
A what?
Had it. The Iranian one was hosted by USC a few years ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I saw one of the films.
how was it?
I don't know. I think it was the one that got nominated.
A separation?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I mean it's like that. Yeah, and a lot of them are hosted by and they're I mean and these aren't out of the these aren't like out of the off in the corner kind of festivals either, because a lot of them are hosted at the ArcLight or at the Egyptian or at very solid venues.
Oh yeah.
Where you can actually see some of the stuff, and yeah, the Film Noir Festival, which is starting I think next week. Which by the way. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the one, and I was looking over the list, and the one actually that I really like to go see, that if you guys are up for it, they're showing the American Joseph Losey remake of M.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Probably,
which is
was that like 42? When was that?
I was in the 50s, I believe. I want to say it was like 51 or something like that. Anyway, and it's a fascinating. Is it Fritz Lang's M? No, but it is a fascinating movie, and the trial scene near the end takes place in a parking garage because it all takes place in Los Angeles. And so the trial scene, I might almost say, is better than Lang's trial scene. Not the performance of the main actor versus Laurie, but its execution and the way it builds has such incredible tension to it, and the angles and everything that he chooses. It's a really great scene. And so yeah, M's going to be double featuring with something, and I think that's like the last night of the festival.
Huh.
But yeah, the Film Noir Festival, which started in San Francisco back in, I want to say like '04, that I've gone to almost every year I think since, and I've seen one or two movies. I've never bought a pass to see all of them. Would be great. The actually, Gabe, that's okay. Looks like did Warren get in?
He's watching. You
Tremendo.
might be able to invite him.
Yeah, let me see here. Let me finish this here. So Tremendo, what's the horror festival where they actually finally showed Trick or Treat?
Shriekfest.
Shriekfest. And that was
Screamfest. I'm sorry, Screamfest.
Right, and that was
It's either Shriekfest or Screamfest that they have at the Chinese Theater.
That was its debut, right?
No, it ran a couple years before that.
Had it? Okay.
They did Survival or Diary of the Dead was one flick I saw a couple years before.
But that was the debut of Trick or Treat.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So basically, it had its premiere there. It was a movie that had been sitting in the can for a couple years that everybody was like waiting to find out about. It finally debuted there, and that really started. It never got a theatrical release, I believe, or if it did, it was incredibly limited. But it that really pushed it into the much more in the public consciousness, and from after people were able to finally see it and go, oh my God, this is a really solid movie.
Do you remember those After Dark films to die for?
Yes.
Do you remember that series that came out a few years? I think those were born out of Screamfest screenings, and that's how releasing an entire film festival on DVD trend lasted for a couple of years.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. Well, it's got to be the smaller film festivals that do that, because those films have little or no hope of going anywhere else. A small cut from a couple of DVD sales is all they got. I knew a guy who used to go to a it wasn't up in Ojai, but it was some similar tiny little town north of here, a Lovecraft Fest.
Oh yeah, they got that in Long Beach, yeah.
Yeah. And he would go and he would always buy the DVDs. He did very well. He was a not very famous Hollywood writer, but he did okay for himself. And every time he would go, he would buy every DVD of every movie, because he was like, these people, the way a band sells CDs out of the trunk of their car, these guys are selling these little movies they made out of the trunk of their car, and you want to support them if you like the movie.
And actually, what was it? We went to Beyond Fest. Is that what it was called? That was it when we went and saw Goblin.
We saw Goblin, yeah.
And was that only its second or third year?
As far as I know, it was the first year, because it was the first year I'd ever heard of it.
Right. Yeah.
And it might have been its second.
And it was a genre fest that had a wide variety of shorts and other stuff like that. We saw one or two shorts before Deep Red had started, But one of the things they did that was just mind-blowingly crazy was Goblin, the prog rock band that did music for several Dario Argento films and lots of other Italian horror films out there. It was the very first time they had actually ever played live in the United States. And so they had scheduled one night for them, or 2 nights,
Right.
and then they ended up adding another night or two,
Right.
Because it sold out so quickly. Like everybody, and
that was the second night that we went to. They actually had 3. They had a show the day before and then the day after.
Gotcha. Yeah. That was a blast. I mean, that was one of those kind of one of a time kind of events, and you're like, it was really cool. And they had no idea
And they're coming back. They're coming back in May.
Goblin's coming back?
Yeah.
Of course. Why not? I'd go see him again just for the hell of it.
Hey,
those guys,
Gonzo wants to go if you want to go.
Does he?
Hey,
Sweet.
you know what,
Yeah,
you know what?
totally in.
In the smaller festival market.
Sorry, hold on one second. Sorry. So Warren, I have invited you in. If you theoretically, I guess, check your email or something like that. So you should have something that should be able to link you in if you want to join us. So sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
I saw as part of this was at the Egyptian. They were doing a. God, I think it was a but I don't know if it was a festival. I mean, does it have to repeat to be a festival, or can you just sort of?
That's what I'm trying to.
Or is that a philosophical question? Because I saw an Ultraman movie, which I had never seen in the theaters, and they were.
Oh my God! How long ago was that?
7 or 8 years. The Egyptian was having some kind of Ultraman festival, and the timing worked out that I could just see one of them, and I'd never seen any Ultraman films other than like Saturday when I was 7, kind of thing. And it's just been that long.
It may have been part of G-Fest, which is a Godzilla fan fest that they have in New York and Chicago usually. They had it in LA only a couple of times, and that may have been one of the years. And
because I checked the program. I was trying to find time to go to a movie with this guy, and we were checking the program, and the timing of this one worked out. But if there had been any Godzilla movie, I would have chosen it over Ultraman. No offense.
Oh, okay.
Legions of Ultraman fans watching,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think a bad Godzilla movie would be preferable to a good Ultraman movie. But that's just me.
There's no such thing as a bad Godzilla movie.
I have seen one.
Biollante?
I like Biollante.
Okay.
Roland Emmerich's Godzilla.
Take that Oh, right. That's not really a Godzilla movie.
Doesn't count.
No, that's more of a piece of crap wrapped in a lizard.
It's a piece of shit.
So I think actually what we can now, what we've determined just by us discussing festivals in general, is that they're incredibly valuable no matter where they're at or what they're about, that you'll be able to find. It's about, because film itself, the beauty of movies is that, A, there's a lot of them out there. B, you've probably not seen a drop in the bucket of them. And they are, and these are great ways to discover new films and meet people who want to discuss movies. And a lot of times there are these fantastic Q&As with filmmakers, and you can learn about the process of filmmaking and what it took them to get their vision up on the screen. And more often than not, you will find a lot more passion at these festivals, whether they be commercialized or for sale only or not. Then, I mean, even if you go to the American film market, which is not a festival, but it's a bunch of guys trying to.
It's even better. It's where the actual movies being shown have a chance of getting the wide distribution that the original filmmakers intended in the first place. Nobody makes a movie they don't want anyone to see.
Yeah, true. Except for maybe Stan Brakhage. No.
You know which one I want to
guess
see?
what? Success. I've never seen your movies.
I don't know if you're closing up the topic, John, but
No.
One of the festivals I like to see is the VHS one, where people just dig up old VHS tapes and screen them as is, project them on a big screen. And I don't know what the name of the festival's called.
Have you had the opportunity to see Rewind This? Is that what it's called? The new documentary about the rise and fall of VHS?
No, I haven't seen it yet. No.
It's I'm not sure. I got to see it at a great place called the Jump Cut Cafe. If you live in Los Angeles and you're ever in the Valley, on Ventura Boulevard is a place called Jump Cut Cafe. Erlich, congratulations, by the way, on the baby. Anyways, but they do all kinds of great screenings. Once a month, they have Secret 16, where they actually show a 16 millimeter print of a surprise movie, and it's always great. I mean, it's a fun atmosphere. They have trivia nights. They have all kinds of cool stuff. Anyways, they played Rewind This. I think they actually had the debut there.
Mm-hmm.
I also got to see a secret screening of Birdemic 2, which was
what's that movie about?
It's about pigeons. No, it's
Chuck Norris defends birdhouses.
Yeah. But Rewind This is kind of a really great little doc, or as they say in Australia, doco, about in Australia they do. It's pretty fucked up. Anyways, it's basically about the rise, how videotapes came into play, the VHS versus beta battle, the glut of cinema that was now released because of VHS, that distributors all of a sudden realized they could make money through it. So you got this because of things like that. We were able to get Evil Dead and a lot more movies out there. And then of course, the ultimate decline and death of VHS is it's a very fun and entertaining movie. It's very educational. Is it the greatest documentary that could ever be made about VHS? Probably not. It's incredible. It's incredibly.
That's a narrow limitation.
It is. I know. I agree. But it's a fan film. It's very much about the love of it versus a kind of it's not as technical, or it doesn't get into a lot of the intricacies they could get into. But you see a lot of VHS fans who just have walls and stacks of VHS that they've been collecting behind them, because there's awkwardly enough, now that video is taking over film as far as the form of how films are being shot, video itself also has a look and a style about it. Old video has a look and style about it that is as valuable to some extent to storytelling as black and white or two-strip Technicolor or any of the old kind of ways that films have been made. Video really kind of depending on what format you're using. Because what was the Nadja? Was that the vampire movie that used pixel vision?
Fisher-Price camera.
Yeah, so it was an old Fisher-Price camera that used an audio tape to record onto, and it had this very bizarre pixelated black and white look. And so the vampire sequences were actually shot with this toy camera, and then blown up.
So give me an example of something where you lump that style in with black and white, and black and white has proven itself time and time again to be a very specific storytelling sort of device, and these days it's sort of limited to evoking a sense of period. I almost want to say. Is evoking a sense of period the sole limitation of using a different style like video?
No, I wouldn't say just that, because I think black and white does more than just a period. I think if you look at Francis Ha or Nebraska, which were movies shot on video in color and turned into black and white, it's and especially with Nebraska, it's not a period as much as a how do you say this? Black and white almost has more of a realistic, harder edge to it at times, I guess, than color does. And so video, and again, this is for the storyteller and how they feel they want it to be used. I know Wim Wenders in a movie called Until the End of the World used video as dream interpretation. So it's a format and a look and a style that can be used to create. It could definitely help define a time period. But it's also something that has a certain quality and style and look to it. So if you want something, if you want something emotionally to come out, if you want to show a birthday party and remind people, give them that warm feeling of like a home birthday party within your film, even if it's modern. If you shoot it on a VHS cam or something like that, you're going to get an emotional reaction. It's going to react with your audience. Or a portion of your audience that gets that feeling of, oh, sure, I remember seeing my birthday parties that my dad shot back when I was a kid, and that's something that's psychologically going to play off of the viewer.
Also, shock value in the found footage movies like Paranormal Activity 3.
Yeah.
Or any movie that has some kind of found footage sequence in it, shooting on home video makes it look more disturbing, evokes a sense of more realism because, like you said, we've seen that home video quality.
Yep. Yeah, I think
there's definitely that sense of realism. I definitely get that. I mean, I think back to you know, oh my God, I'm blanking. Blair Witch Project.
Actually, that's exactly what I was going to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a very low quality film. It was not shot, I mean, intentionally not shot very well, but even the film stock itself wasn't very high quality. It was very, very effective in terms of making you feel like, you know, when it turns to the left and turns to the right, that you're seeing what's really to the left and really to the right. Yep. Whereas when I'm watching, like, Chinatown and the camera pans left, I'm pretty sure everyone was holding perfectly still before the camera pointed at them.
So, yeah. Well, also, there was another film.
Side note, I love Chinatown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Dub is a giant Chinatown fan. Actually, because you rewatched it, about 3 months ago or something like that, 4 months ago.
Yeah. It was like over the summer because Barbara hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
I just forgot what perfection that movie was.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what the movie was. Computer Chess, which was a small independent film that was released back in fall of 2013 that was shot by the gentleman whose name I can't think of. He was one of the main founders of Mumblecore. And he shot Computer Chess is about takes place I think in 1981, 82, somewhere in there, and it's about all these nerds getting together with their computer chess programs to decide who has the best computer chess program. So all these guys from MIT and from Northrop Grumman and wherever else, they've all come to kind of compete in this computer chess competition with their computer. He shot it on old handheld. They may have been 3/4-inch cameras actually. So they were old school, but they were tube-based video cameras. So if they hit a light as they were panning, the light would streak. I mean, it had this great. It instantly felt like watching like an old, like the video cameras they used to use for like Howdy Doody or old shows, live shows like that. Ernie Kovacs, actually, as a matter of fact, was kind of the master of understanding what those cameras could do with lights and create very bizarre images with them. But you could really feel the sense of time and place. And again, this goes to Dub's comment about it being kind of a historical kind of thing, but it was a great choice of format for that type of story and that type of storytelling. And Dub's texting. So yeah,
texting back.
Gotcha.
Well, I'm not on camera, so I can talk. I can still listen.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm just wondering about some of these styles that are dying out, if they're good for anything other than evoking the period in which they were in their apex.
Yeah, I don't think any style is dying out. I think now we're just, I fear the death of the actual.
No one's doing CinemaScope anymore. I mean, a lot of those old formats have died out, and they still exist. But
but most of those died out because of the anamorphic format being the one that actually. I mean, there was a lot of competition between those formats, VistaVision and all those other formats until kind of the anamorphic format kind of reign supreme, because I mean they still every so often somebody will shoot in 70mm like we saw last year with the Master. Also last year Wes Anderson decided to shoot Moonrise Kingdom in Super 16 or 16mm, Super 16, which gave it a specific look, and I believe that Hurt Locker was also shot Super 16 so they could have the light cameras, and it created a really specific kind of grain and quality to that filmmaking.
Isn't the next Jurassic Park going to be shot on 35?
I wouldn't doubt it. I know that they're planning on shooting Star Wars, or at least that's the rumor, is that Star Wars is going to be shot 35, and then something else I just
How
read.
well does 35mm capture a lens flare?
Well, hey, in a computer it don't matter none anymore. He'll just add them in.
Hey, did you see Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yes, I did see Grand Budapest. I've actually seen Grand Budapest Hotel twice now.
Ooh. That's saying something. I hear there's a half dozen different aspect ratios in that movie.
There are 4. So there is, and it's all kind of varied upon the time.
Of the
time, but also, but here's the interesting thing: is that the 235 2.40 whatever the widescreen is actually used for the sequence in the 50s when that was introduced. So you would think that the widescreen would actually be used.
Said he did. Yeah, I heard an interview with him
today. Yeah. And then it's like he's got 185, 166 European style, and for the 166 it's only used for 2 shots, but it's 2 quick things with Tom Wilkinson. But yeah, and it's really interesting, especially you don't. It's not as obvious up top, but in when you're flashing back to 1932 and you've got this great boxy image, especially with all the way the hotel is structured and the way he frames things, and his center kind of framing that he's well known for. But then to cut from that all of a sudden to the story that's being told by F. Murray Abraham to Jude Law suddenly cuts to the crazy Cinerama or widescreen. It's an odd jolt that pulls you directly out of the story that's being told, and then you settle back into it again. It's a really kind of fascinating take. And the best part is the really widescreen stuff is when the hotel is at its worst looking, so it really kind of sells just kind of the sad
I can't wait
concrete.
to see this movie.
Yeah, it's really solid.
I'm seeing it Friday.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it.
All right, maybe I'll have to fit it in this weekend. Yeah, I'm really excited because I have loved the way all of his movies have been directed. I think he's a director that just pushes all of my buttons. I love the way he moves the camera. I love his incredibly mannered mise en scène. I love how he sets up all of his shots. But I thought his storytelling was really lacking in a lot of his movies.
Well, for me, he definitely started on a decline. I know a lot of people love the Royal Tenenbaums, but I think that was also their first Wes Anderson film they saw. I have this theory that the first Wes Anderson film you see will be your favorite because it's such a jolt as far as his style that you'll instantly love it no matter what.
Yeah, it's a dovetail of your Christopher Guest theory.
Yeah, exactly. But because we saw Rushmore first, that was the one that for me still settles. But I also think that Rushmore is a much tighter story, and it's a story about Arrested Development, or not Arrested Development, a coming of age story for people of that age who are supposed to be coming of age versus Life Aquatic, where it's just like, come on, dude, get your shit together. Or although now Scientist Steph really liked. Oh my God, what was the train one?
Oh my God, to me that's the weakest one he's ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
See, and that to me is that one I.
I agree with that with T. I think that movie was so weak and so directionless.
What was it called? What was it called?
Darjeeling Limited.
Thank you, Darjeeling Limited. Yeah. So, but what was interesting is because we were talking about that again, and that's exactly what I said to her. I said
I think he was trying to grow up. I think he was trying to grow up in that film from style and content.
And I think what she really latched onto it, I think, because it was about siblings, and so and so for her dealing with her sister and her brother, there were things there that she could attach to that took place between those three brothers. So I was like, okay, I can't deny that as a personal experience, and being able to latch onto that. So that could also be a factor in which movies of his work better for you. Now, Fantastic Mr. Fox was definitely moving back towards a return to form, but Moonrise Kingdom really nailed his return to form because, again, it was about adolescence and about the kids actually being more grown up to some extent and understanding what adults, it is they want from life than the adults. And now this feels like a complete departure from his themes, even though he still touches on the "Why Didn't My Daddy Love Me" a little bit. It's still a much bigger story. It's a very intimate story, but a much bigger story.
Where would cinema be without that theme?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, where would Lost be without that one? But it touches on a lot of his kind of themes of love and everything else like that. But it also has this much grander scale, even though it never gets grand, about this. There's always this imposing darkness of the war that's coming. There's always kind of, amongst all the whimsy and all the fun and laughter, even within a moment that you're, even though in a moment that you're laughing at something, there's just at that same turn, there's kind of this thing of, oh right, there's something much bigger and darker on the horizon, and it's got a very melancholy kind of feel about it.
Well, I'm so excited to see him mature as an artist because I can't wait for his first seriously depressing drama with that same mannered direction style. I just think that's going to be so affecting, for me anyway. But the thing that Rushmore had and the thing that Bottle Rocket had going way back is the focus. I feel like Darjeeling Limited and Royal Tenenbaums and Life Aquatic, I feel like these were really meandering stories. And he indulged himself a lot in the storytelling the same way he indulged himself in the set design. Whereas I really appreciate it in set design, I just get super bored super fast in the storytelling. What I thought got him back on track was the discipline he needed to show doing a stop motion movie. You can't you can't screw around with a stop motion movie. You can't make a lot of long meandering scenes. You need to get in, you need to know what you're going to do, and you need to get out.
Right.
And I feel like after that came Moonrise Kingdom, right?
Yep.
And that to me felt like it had a lot more focus.
Yep.
And now I'm hearing just such great things about this one. I heard he was on Fresh Air. He's an awkward individual, as I'm sure you can imagine. He was on not as awkward as Barry Sonnenfeld, actually, but that's another conversation. But they played the scene with Harvey Keitel, or one of the scenes with Harvey Keitel from Grand Budapest Hotel, and it had what you were describing, that mix of really serious, impending darkness with the light mirth of a zany Wes Anderson character. It was just a lot of fun to hear that play out.
Yeah, and this one has it's his bloodiest. It's his most violent. It has its biggest sense of violence, but it also has what would I call it? There seems to be, to me, a lot of Ernst Lubitsch in this one, kind of that throwback to the early Ernst Lubitsch musicals and of Class and the farcical kind of elements in those movies that really kind of seem to shine. He
talked a lot about Screwball. He talked a lot about how the Screwball genre has influenced him as a whole, which is pretty clear in a lot of his movies. But I guess in this one, because it's of that time. I mean, it's in the 30s.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, I think he has found his Robert De Niro or Toshiro Mifune in Ralph Fiennes. I think that Fiennes
looks so amazing in the trailers.
He understands the dialogue. Fiennes has. It's funny because Ralph Fiennes tends to play a lot more serious, dour characters, and though he does have a serious side to him in this one, he's also, the guy has impeccable comic timing. I mean, and In Bruges actually was an example, I think, that really showed that off as well. But this one, it's like he's not even off by a quarter note on any line delivery. It's all just mint. And he's in almost every scene. And the kid is actually very solid as well. But it's Fiennes' film through and through. And the guy is just, I mean, it's perfection. I would say, God, I would wish that this is a movie that would be remembered around Academy Awards time because, for a nomination for him, he will get
in the year, yeah.
He will that, and it's a comedy role for the most part. So those tend, as far as actors go, supporting not as much. They'll throw bones to comedy actors in supporting roles, but it will get left behind. But if this doesn't get him more work in classier comedies, or at least people to see him in a very different light, then
how many classy comedies get made every year? Now that Wes Anderson's released his, who else is going to do one?
That's a good point. I mean, he may very well. Who knows, though? I mean, he might work well with Seth Rogen.
We'll see him in a Woody Allen movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like Wes Anderson is one to watch. I can see like a wrinkly, gray-haired Wes Anderson winning like 2 or 3 Best Pictures, in the year 23 something. I feel like he's clearly got the chops, and if he just falls into the right material, there's good,
I like the year that it's 23 something, so it'll be the head of Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I guess I should have said 30 something.
Yeah.
23 something is the head of Wes Anderson on a robot.
So, okay, we are pushing.
I think he wants to do a horror movie next.
Really?
Yeah, I think he said on one of the morning shows he was on with Ralph Fiennes.
Are you sure he's not just joking around based on that Saturday Night Live sketch?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know.
Oh, you haven't seen that? I'm going to send that to you right now.
I'm probably not going to watch it.
That would be fascinating.
Well, it's not going to take a whole lot of effort for me to send it, so...
Yeah, I would totally be curious to see what a Wes Anderson horror film looks like. But I can at the same time, though, with his precision and with his style, it could be I mean, there.
Hey, John, I was thinking, or Santo.
That's fine. Go by both.
How much do you think he's influenced by Ozu?
Oh, that's interesting. You know what? I hadn't thought about that. I would actually have to.
Isn't that a rice dish?
Yes. Yeah. Uh, wow.
Who's Ozu?
God,
Fill us in.
sorry. So what is Ozu's first name?
I'm only
Yasuhiro?
fucking Dub, remember?
Sure. Right. He.
I think it's
Anyways.
Yasuhiro Ozu.
Okay. So yeah, he did. Tokyo Story is one of his more famous movies. He would tell lots of stories. His stories would be very family based for the most part. I Was Born But was that Ozu or Mizuguchi? That was Ozu, right?
I want to say it was Ozu. Yeah.
I think it was Ozu because it was about the salaryman, and that was one thing we learned about in Japanese film
that was
class.
Mizuguchi then.
Salaryman. Was it Mizuguchi? Okay.
I think so. No Regrets in My Youth. That was Kurosawa, right?
Yeah, no regrets for our youth
Okay.
was Kurosawa.
Okay.
But so Ozu would tell family stories and God, I don't. To be really honest, I can't even think of any of his major themes off the top of my head. T jump in.
Sadness and Tea and Lamps.
Yeah, well, the guy like lamps, and he would always shoot at tatami mat level, which means he would always have the camera down where, since they don't have chairs, they would all sit on mats around the thing, so the camera would be at that size, and he would always shoot with a 50mm lens because that is the closest to standard human perception.
Right, right.
And he would tell very humanistic stories, usually about kind of a lot of repressed emotion, because of course it was a lot about tradition and not wanting to. Not break from that tradition, I guess, and so through that you end up kind of feeling more separated from the people around you than not. But that's interesting. So he said he was influenced a lot by Ozu. Is that correct?
No, I want to say how much do you think he was?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd have to. Now, are you just thinking about his framing
I'm thinking
devices?
the style, the framing, and the piecemeal style. He has these. His films are humanistic, but they're framed in this little boutique-y, very consciously framed films.
Yeah.
You have to check this guy out.
Yeah, I would agree. There's definitely a conscious. They both share that consciousness of framing, and it's funny because I do remember when I was watching Grand Budapest this last time that I was like, oh look, he broke the 180 there, which is something that Ozu was very popularly known for, breaking the 180-degree rule. But that's interesting. I would actually have to look at that more. I don't know if God, what's the word that I'm looking for
Tokyo Story, late spring.
Late spring, right? Early autumn. I'm trying to think of what's the central, like something's dead center, God damn it. There's even a video actually on Vimeo about it right now that a guy did that's really quite solid.
The center point framing.
It's not. Yeah, it's kind of that center point frame. It's that center point framing.
Vanishing point framing, because there's that one that does the rapid cut of all the Kubrick movies.
Right. Yeah, but it wasn't. It was not circular. It is. Oh, fuck me. All right, I just have to look this up. I'm sorry. Talk amongst yourselves. Dub, go.
What are you looking forward to seeing this week, T?
Well, I think Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
Maybe the Liam Neeson flick. No, what is it?
I heard that it was better than it looks.
Nonstop.
Yeah, a couple people in my office saw that and they said it was pretty good. I think.
Good notice.
I heard a quote from him saying that he didn't think it was ever going to be released in theaters. That he thought he was doing a straight to DVD film, which I think is hilarious. Yeah, I think it's hilarious that he would even agree to do a movie that he thought would be straight to DVD. But obviously, these action movies are helping him forget recent tragedies and probably padding his wallet quite nicely as well.
Right.
I'm sure he made more for Taken than he did in Taken 2 anyway, than he did for like his previous 10 films.
He's done a slew of action stuff. He did that one similar to Taken. I can't think of the word, but it had a lot of fluorescent lighting in it, or night vision lighting. You know, that green tint type of lighting.
Was it Quarantine 2?
It was something like it that had that look. It had that bad rave look lighting.
Third person? No.
Taking two. What is it? The wolf one.
Right. He was in Battleship.
That's right. He was in Battleship. He was in the Wrath of the. Oh damn it! Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans. Wasn't he in both of those?
Yes, yeah. Actually,
Oh,
there's
really?
there's our Ray Fiennes crossover. He
Is,
was
War,
in.
is, War,
He was.
is Warren actually there?
I see a blank screen.
Oh, I see him.
He has to
Just
turn
in
on
time
his
for
camera.
Hey, Warren, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, there's up
Oh,
his
there he is.
nose.
Sorry.
Hey,
What's
Hey,
up?
man, how's it going, sir?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. Can you think of the word that I'm looking for?
Tomato.
Close.
That is circular.
Ah,
Tomato?
Tomato.
Tomato?
I'll never
Grand
figure it
Budapest
out.
Hotel?
Have I seen it?
Yeah.
No, I wanted to see it. I'm going to see it, but I have not seen it. It looks great.
have you seen Nonstop?
No. I'm on the fence.
I think you should see it.
What's going to push you over the fence?
I don't know. I don't know. It's like Die Hard on a plane again, I guess. I don't know. With a twist. I don't know.
That sounds like the best drink ever.
I'll have a
Die
Die
Hard
Hard
on a plane again with a twist.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll see it. Maybe I'll see it. I'm still catching up on all the old movies that I hadn't seen before.
What have you been
Warren,
checking out
you're up-
recently?
I saw Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, wow, okay, you're playing catch up.
Yo, I'm playing way catch up. I saw Wolf of Wall Street. I think I told the dub that I thought it was basically just Goodfellas on Wall Street, like almost to the point of it just being like structured almost exactly the same way.
Yeah.
With
Like
rape
I was
instead of
expected
killing.
to say, ever since I was a young boy, I wanted to be a stockbroker. Like I thought that's how he would open the movie, but and I
Yeah,
think
he was actually very close to opening it that way, actually.
it was pretty funny.
But yeah, and it even had certain. I mean, the proposal scene reminded me of very much the proposal scene from Casino. I mean, it really had that whole kind of greatest hits. It's weird. It's the trifecta of Goodfellas, Casino, Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I think I was talking about this with Dub.
Yeah, I still haven't heard anything about this movie that makes me want to see it.
No, it's 3 hours. It's not really worth.
Like
seeing.
it sounds so derivative and shiny and polished, and I don't feel like you would get any kind of. And again, I think I've had this conversation with all of you separately regarding Scorsese. That I think when he's at his best, he's really giving you insight into these enigmatic characters that you don't normally get to see or that you wouldn't normally understand. And I think at his worst, he's showing you what are essentially two-dimensional pictures of enigmatic characters. So on one hand, you can really get into Travis Bickle's head, but on the other hand, you know nothing about the aviator at the end of that movie. So he's sort of hit and miss. And I'm not denying that the guy doesn't know how to make a good movie, that he doesn't know how to I mean, he knows where to put the camera. He's a very talented filmmaker. But in terms of storytelling, it's a separate skill.
He needs an editor bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
we miss her.
Oh, she's still with us. Thelma Schumacher's still with us. She cut it.
She's not?
Yes, she is.
Did he not hire anybody after that?
Yeah, no, I swear she's still alive and still with us. I promise you. You're thinking of Tarantino's editor.
Who went jogging?
You're looking it up. Okay.
I am.
All right. Are we placing money on this?
No, she is alive.
Yeah.
No, we're not placing money on it because she's
I
alive.
thought she died.
Gosh, I'm so sorry she's still alive.
No, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. There is now officially a woman in the movie industry.
Oh, that's not. There's well, I don't know. That's a discussion for another time. I
There's
think.
Charo. Charo's still around.
No, movie industry. Movie
Coochie
industry.
coochie.
She
Well,
was in It's a Mad World.
Was she seriously?
I'm guessing.
Oh,
Everyone was
yeah.
in that movie.
Yeah. Nah, I don't think she was actually.
All right, what are we going to talk about next week?
Next week, I just got here.
Yeah, really. So quick, we got a few minutes. Why not? So Warren, what else you got?
I saw American Hustle.
Okay.
I
Thoughts?
was very disappointed with that movie. In fact,
Yeah, you said it was meh.
yeah, it was meh at best.
I'm with him on the meh, because that was another one I had to see twice because Scientist Steph wanted to check it out after I'd already gone to see it. And the first time I was like, okay, lots of fun, lots of energy, whatever else. And then the second time I saw it, I was just kind of like, done, never mind.
Yeah, it was just, it felt like they were hamming it up. I mean, I get it, it's a character study and it's more about the characters than the story, but you know, I feel like he just like let them like say whatever lines they wanted to say, whether it made sense or not. And the only person I cared about was the little kid, and we never got to see him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they felt more like caricatures than actual characters. I mean, it's like it, and I think I think Deb, I was discussing this with you, where it felt to me like it was an interpretation of the 70s. It's like how we think the 70s were versus what the 70s actually were.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's you were mentioning that because we were talking about the verisimilitude in a situation like that compared to like Mad Men.
Yeah.
Where you really feel like you're in that time period.
Yeah.
Just with modern cameras.
Yep.
Whereas Anchorman, we compared it to Anchorman. How Anchorman is this like concept of the early 80s or late 70s, much more so than it is like an actual recreation of the time period.
It's about playing.
The actual historical ab scam thing was on the surface pretty boring. It was but the characters around it should have just told the story, because there was such weirdness around the ab scam scandal or whatever it was. They should have just played it straight.
Yeah, there's still a good story to be told.
Let the absurdity come out.
Yeah, it could have been way better.
So we got two of the Best Picture nominees. What else we got?
Just shoot those down. I was very disappointed with them.
And actually, it's funny because those are the two that were completely shut out, I believe, at the Oscars as well, as if that matters anything. Those are like a bunch of nominations, 0 wins.
Rightfully so.
How much did American Hustle get in there because it's a David O. Russell movie? Is he just one of those directors that's going to get nominations if he releases a movie in November?
You know what? Okay, American Hustle, and this was a lot of people argued about Argo last year winning Best Picture and sucking, right? But Argo is a movie that is a level that movies should be, right? Like your average movie.
It's the baseline.
Exactly. It should be, and the sad part.
You should at least be able to do what Ben Affleck does.
You should be able to pull an Argo. You should be able to pull an Argo, but they don't. But it's sad how many movies can't even establish that decent type of storytelling, and so we get very upset when it wins Best Picture. But at the same time, it's like, fuckers, at least make that. I mean, just give us that much.
For the record, it's not without its problems, but I enjoyed Argo a great deal. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the ending, and there were way too many shots of Ben Affleck thinking. There are so many shots of that guy sitting and thinking. It's like this soft music, and all you get is like,
yeah.
I don't need more than like 6 seconds of that, and then let's see some, Iranian mobs. Like that's where it gets fun.
Right. Yeah. But and I think with American Hustle, that's a movie where it's not a bad movie per se. It's just not one of those films that should be up in this pantheon of the best in the year, even though again it's completely.
What about Gravity?
Oh, I think okay. Yes, I think Gravity actually is an exceptional movie that deserved to be there. Albeit I get that there are very basic character script problems and things like that, but just as far as its execution, and it's still, considering it's all fake, how scared you get and how much you feel and fear for what's going on, that in itself is worthy of what it was able to pull off. And to some extent, Gravity should be that level of any thriller or anything like that. That's higher than the base level, but it shouldn't be much lower than that.
Well, I felt like that was one of those movies that they should have given it the Total Recall award, where they're just not even going to nominate other people because the work it did was so far above and beyond. But it was such a thin movie.
Did it deserve? But what more?
Could you have nominated that movie for like? Is it even possible to consider a movie being nominated? Excuse me, for cinematography, technical achievement, direction, but not Best Picture? Because it deserved all of those.
Absolutely.
Even sound. I mean, even sound editing. The sound on that movie was so good.
Oh yeah.
Warren, you haven't seen the movie. Do you want to explain why?
I haven't seen the movie because I have a legitimate fear of floating away in space. I know that would be, you would just disappear and die, and it would be a 90-minute panic attack if I sat through that movie. So I just chose to, I get it, it's an amazing movie, I'm sure it's awesome, I just can't sit through it.
Wow, that's kind of cool. That's exactly why Aaron never saw that movie Devil about the people trapped in the elevator, because he was afraid he'd lose his keys during the entire film.
Bringing back the old phobias.
Yeah.
I saw that movie.
You know, John, I think of you every time I lick my lint trap in my dryer.
Oh, good. Somebody has to.
Yeah, so we all have our fears, and sometimes they make a movie about them. And
That's my fear of knocking up Katherine Hagel.
What was the Open Water? Those Open Waters? What was that movie?
Yeah, Open Water. Yeah.
Where the people are just stuck out there for 2 hours. Like, that was another one I just can't watch because that just kills me.
Yeah. No, and that's another one of those kind of. Now I still need to see All Is Lost, the Robert Redford film.
Oh yes, yeah.
You know, actually, I have
Speaking
a
of
friend of
fears,
mine let me borrow the screener. I have that screener sitting here. I have a stack of screeners that a friend of mine let me borrow.
Yeah.
With one of them.
Apparently, it's gravity on the water, so maybe you should stay away from it.
Well, I think I can
With
handle
an
it.
old man.
You know, if I may stop at 10 minutes into it, go nope.
Yeah, fast forward to the end.
Live or die. That's
You're
all
lost. You're lost.
Because I'm watching it on a VCR for some reason.
You missed the earlier conversation.
I have a phobia of a leathery Robert Redford, so that's the only reason for even watching it.
So you're not going to see Captain America?
Oh my God, no! I'm so there. I cannot wait to see Captain America.
Yeah.
So good. That's gonna be awesome.
Oh my God, Captain America.
I want to watch the first one again.
Captain America to me looks like it's going to be everything that I want in a movie because it feels like it has the 70s conspiracy paranoid thriller thing going with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot.
The Parallax Cap.
Yeah, completely. Well, and I love the first Captain America is my favorite so far of all of the of all of those Marvel flicks.
Yeah.
So,
You know, it's funny. I like them all. Like, I think that they all have their own little thing. Like, I was most surprised by Thor. I had no idea that I would like any of the Thors.
Love that movie.
I agree. Yeah, Thor's the movie because Thor's the movie that everybody thought, okay, this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it didn't suck actually helped raise the level on that one.
That's
No,
exactly.
they were right. It sucked, but it took me three viewings to realize it didn't suck as bad as I thought it.
So you had to get past the fact that there were only 5 people in this New Mexican town.
Right. That didn't bother me. They were cheap. They didn't know what they were doing. No,
and their Mexican restaurant is called Mexican Restaurant.
Right.
I want to open a restaurant.
I'd like to get your spaghetti and meatballs, please. The movies I want to watch again is I want to see Iron Man 2 and 3 again.
You don't want to see 2 again.
Well, no, because I saw the second half of 2 again, and I really liked it. And I was thinking back, and it's really that super weak, super difficult first 30 to 40 minutes of Iron Man 2 that really hurts it. But I think it does get on its feet and it does move along. I'm really worried that Iron Man 3 is not going to be good at all the second viewing.
I think it would be. I mean, I think the problem with Iron Man 2 was it felt like they had this kind of false sickness. Like his sickness was like a major story for some reason, and they tried to play it up without really playing it up. And then they had sort of a tacked on final battle at the end that really didn't feel like it was dangerous at all. You know,
it was
like,
cool
okay.
looking.
Yeah, it was cool looking, but yeah, it was. Meh.
Warren, let me ask you actually about Iron Man 3. Is that a lot of people that I talked to that complain about it felt that it was more a Shane Black movie than an Iron Man movie, and that doesn't bother me because it was the first time that they were actually able to kind of break away from the structure of the other films, because all the other films are very similarly structured.
Oh, totally.
And this was the first time that they were actually able to give it something, a new voice, a new a new feel. And I'm curious if with 3 that you fell more into the it's a great Iron Man movie or it's a great Shane Black movie kind of camp.
You know, it could be two things. I think that it was like I like the fact that they were able to take the superhero out of the superpower. They were to take that away from him, and it actually worked because sometimes they do that and it feels really fake. Um, I thought in this case it worked, and it was like it had the Shane Black aspect to me is like that snappy dialogue that's really smart, that's kind of goes in directions that you don't always expect things to go. It's not he always is like a little bit different with how he has partnerships, and this time it was Iron Man and the little kid, and it was yeah, no, I liked it. I liked it on both levels. Like it was a fun Shane Black movie, and it was a good superhero Iron Man movie.
Yeah, and the kid wasn't annoying, which
No.
really kind of surprised me more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really a kid, he just happened to be a kid. Like sometimes they play it up as like an innocent kid who's like, "Gee, Mr. Iron Man, what are we gonna do next?" And like, no, this time it was just like a kid. He's like his dad didn't come home, and it was just like he had problems, and Robert Downey Jr. has problems, and so.
So they got drunk together.
Yeah, they got drunk. They picked up some hookers, and they wandered in some other kid's room in the middle of the night, passed out.
Yeah, I mean those scenes are the highlight of the movie for sure. Iron Man and the little kid bonding at his house is great, and I don't think I'm sure when they sit around they say we're doing comics, we could do a whole series of comics, 5, 6, 7 issues of just Iron Man suitless bonding with some kid out in the middle of nowhere while the world is looking for Iron Man, but you can't do that in a movie. Like I feel like they were trapped by having to make it bigger, having to make it better, having to make it more explosive, having to add more Iron Man suits, having to push it forward.
I don't know a lot of Iron Man. I mean, I've only been reading like Marvel, like the past year or two. I've been reading a bunch of Marvel stuff, but it was nice to see some of the other suits and they captured the fact that Tony Stark is like this crazy builder guy. He like invents stuff, and like it was cool to see like the Hulkbuster suit and like some of those other things. They kind of like snuck him in there. Although it'd be cool like if they had it in the Avengers too, where like Tony has to take down the Hulk or something. I mean, like that kind of stuff I think would be fun in the universe where it's not just straight up Avengers against some whatever bad guy of the week.
Yep, I would have to agree with you on that one, sir. All right. Anything else? Let's see. We're hitting 10:35 here. What are we looking at? Anything else that important that we want to bring up, or should we wrap it for this week and get together again next week?
And I'm done.
Call it. Time of death. We'll send some emails around again. Like I said, I had sort of a busy weekend, so I wasn't able to prep for this as much as I'd like.
Didn't know Michael Crichton. Did you? Did you ever read the Michael Crichton article I sent you?
You didn't send me a Michael Crichton article.
I didn't?
No, you said you were.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I emailed you this. There's The Dissolve, which is one of my new favorite movie websites. That's something we should talk about next week, our favorite movie websites. Okay, yeah, that's something worth chatting about. Anyways, somebody did an extensive article on the cinema of Michael Crichton, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, I gotta send this.
Oh, I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets pretty in depth there, so it's pretty fascinating. Lauren, I guess any other.
One last thing is I'll send this out to you guys is the what is it, that video game, the Starfighter or Street Fighter?
Last Starfighter?
Oh no, Street Fighter, the video game one.
Yeah, Street Fighter.
Not Starfighter, but Street Fighter with Raul Julia and.
Yeah.
There's a great piece written about why that movie didn't work, which, besides the point that it's Street Fighter, I'll send that out to you guys and see what you think. It's pretty fascinating.
Cool.
All right.
What did the show?
I think video game movies in a whole is a pretty solid discussion to have since Need for Speed just came out.
Well, using Need for Speed as a dovetail, Entertainment Weekly did an article about that, about why it doesn't work. Now, Santo knows that I have many strong theories on the subject matter myself.
Of what, Need for Speed or video games in general?
Video game movies tie-ins. One medium trying to compete with another medium.
Yeah. I think especially when you go with the interactive versus the, I don't want to say passive, but there's definitely that, there's definitely that giving over the storytelling to be told a story versus actually being able to partake in that story.
Right. There's so many things actually, I'm sure Warren would have some insight in this as well. There's so many things you don't control in terms of the narrative of a video game.
Well, right. That's the whole argument within video game writing itself. Like, whether you're making the player do what one thing, or whether you're allowing the player to control the story.
Yeah, it's tough. And so then to take something that when it works gives the power completely over to the player, and then expects that same person to gain a similar satisfaction from an experience where they have no power is just not fair. I think it's not fair to Angelina Jolie to say, now you be Lara Croft, after everybody who has already, everybody who's going to go see your movie has already also been Lara Croft before you.
Right. So, all right, fair enough. Okay, boys, we're going to call this an evening then.
All right.
Folks, single viewer who was Warren, who's now on the show. Apparently, if you watch us,
we have co-opted our viewer.
Come on the show.
I get to be on the show.
Well, this should give hope to our other viewers next week.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So
You
so
too could be on the show.
That other guy.
And he does have the best microphone.
Yeah, probably so.
I'm also doing some air traffic controlling on the side.
What the hell is that plane?
Malaysia flight?
Come on, Malaysia Flight 737, quit calling me.
Have you landed yet, Malaysia flight? Too soon.
Oh, too soon. Let's edit this out before anyone sees we made this show.
The problem is it's not too soon, but it's not too late. We don't know what it is.
Right.
Exactly.
It's,
Maybe they're watching.
it's
really-
Schrodinger's plane.
It's aliens.
Okay, so
It's
for
goddamn aliens. End of story.
so for the one viewer that's now a non-viewer, you can follow Aaron.
One final note for LT. I watched an HD marathon of Ancient Aliens.
Oh,
That is something I did do with my time, but I did it yesterday.
time
while I
well
was,
spent.
While I was paying bills and stuff. It came on. I going through. I'd always check the HD channels because they move them around every now and then, and I got H2. And it was something. It was an even more ridiculous subset of Ancient Aliens. It was like Ancient Aliens, dirt piles or something like that, and it just covered dirt piles that probably were not aliens, but dude, they were totally
Totally
aliens.
aliens.
2 hour
All right.
special.
I've derailed. It was
Okay.
hilarious. Love that
You can
shit.
follow Dub at Film Geek Dub. T, where can people follow you at since you don't have a lower third?
At El Tremendo. Actually, at El Tremendo. ELTREMENDO.
All right, and Warren.
At Warren Graff, I guess. At Warren Graff.
Okay.
Question?
Theoretically, maybe.
In theory, if Twitter's
Wait,
working.
that's not your Twitter name.
Isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Isn't it Mondo Frank?
No. It's Warren Graff.
Who have I been following?
We talk on Twitter all the time.
Do we?
No, we don't.
Okay.
You
Not
are
naked
somewhere
TWA.
You can follow me at John Santo, and we will see you next week with something. Good luck.